Langets quacha, tia. Langets quacha, tia. Neathlands jalangan tia. Neathlands jalangan tia.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to our Sunday gathering for Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut, continuing to gather each and every week as we have for the last, year and a half, a little more than that. I'm really excited to introduce our guest today, but we have a lot of our usuals on, so we'll go around the room and let everyone say hello. Let's get started. Deb Cruz, because we know she's always talkative. Deb Cruz? How are you, Deb?
Hanging tough.
Awesome. Casey and Stephanie?
We are awesome on this Sunday. Excited to listen to John and see what kind of a documentary he's going to produce about the dams. This is awesome. Thank you for joining us.
It's going to be really, really awesome. Howard?
For being here, John. I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say and watching the videos. And I just want to say, I just in the last couple of days have been up the Elwha River that recently was restored by the removal of 2 dams that had been there for 100 years, and the salmon are back. It was like a revelation to me to see huge numbers of really big salmon way up above the former dam site. And that is a testament to what can happen. And that watershed is a small fraction of the wilderness area upstream of the Snake River Dam. So it'd be 1,000 times more if the Snake River dams are removed. So I just wanted to say that's a testament to what can be done.
Awesome. Deb Allers, I asked Deborah Allers to be with us today because, as we all know, Deborah's been a stand for the removal of the dams. Deborah, how are you today?
Oh, I'm doing awesome, Annette. We're enjoying this wonderful late summer weather here on the Salish Sea. And I'm also looking forward to getting up to Elwha and seeing those salmon that Howard's talking about. I try to do it every September, so can't wait. And I'm so honored to be here with you and everyone else.
Awesome. Thanks for being with us. Same with Chris. I invited Dr. Chris to join us today. Chris, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for continuing your efforts and for having John on today to talk about the documentary. So thanks, everybody.
Awesome. Deborah.
I'm just honored to sit in such a powerful, amazing group of people. And let's get ready to manifest a miracle in Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut's legacy. Thank you, John.
Ma, how are you?
Good, thanks. Happy to be here. And what Deb said. Hi, John. You're amongst friends. Breach the dams.
Oh, they got a great shirt on. Awesome. Thanks, Ma, for being with us. Alejandro, how are you?
Happy to be here and learn more about how we can remove the dams to help Toki's family.
Awesome. All right. Well, I'm going to do an intro for John, but I think before we start with verbal talking, I just kind of want to show you guys some of the work that John has done. So I'm going to do that by sharing my screen here, and let's watch this.
My name is John Carlos Frey, and I'm an investigative reporter.
John Carlos Frey. He is an investigative journalist. He's an author. You smuggled yourself across the border.
I did. From the Guatemala-Mexico border, I put myself in the back of a semi-truck with about 90 other people. It's not supposed to carry people. It's supposed to carry boxes or cargo.
My job as an investigative journalist is to seek the truth. An investigative journalist takes an issue and digs deep, tries to get to the bottom of something. These are mass graves.
These are mass graves. They're commingled. Everyone is different.
So you shouldn't just dump a bag into a hole in the ground.
You know, would you want your son buried that way?
They told you that they were going to kill you.
Sí, igual eso era muy común.
So you believe them.
Sí.
So if I said to the Catholic Church, I know that that priest fathered these children, I have paternity evidence that strongly suggests that he is the father, would that be safe?
Yeah.
Father Jesus Expedito Suarez, I am delivering information today, is the father of children in Colombia. One of the women, who will remain anonymous, was raped at 11 years old and became pregnant at age 14. We have proven that this priest is the father of that child. The diocese, we believe, has known about this priest and his transgressions for at least 25 years. Every story that I cover affects me, and I want it to affect me. It's what actually inspires me to do the next story. I can't be callous about someone's suffering. I am a journalist. I'm interested in places that are in conflict and are going through a period of injustice like we're seeing here. But I'm a bilingual, binational, born in Tijuana, growing up in the United States individual. So this is my beat. We are holding people underneath a bridge. This is the United States, holding people underneath a bridge surrounded by a chain link fence. These are women and children. But I can't sit and watch injustice before me and not do something about it. I have been threatened with my life on several occasions. I have been held against my will for a few days. But listen, I'm a reporter, and I work in what some people would call a war zone, and that's just part of the job.
All right, everyone, welcome John Carlos Frey to the show. Thank you, John, for being with us today. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much. I'm honored to be working on this project. Hopefully we get to work on this project, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak to everybody. It doesn't seem like from what you just saw that we're going to do something for creatures that live in the water. You know, I mean, most of my work has been done with injustice that happens on firm soil, but my philosophy as a reporter, as a journalist, is to give a voice to the voiceless and to hold those people in positions of power accountable. So I can't think of a better opportunity than to give Toki's family, who remain voiceless in the Salish Sea. They can't speak for themselves. They can't tell you and me what they need. That's our responsibility. So as a journalist, I'd like to give them a voice, and I'd like to hold those responsible for putting them on the endangered species list accountable. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Awesome. Well, we are looking forward to that as well, because and those of you watching from home, you'll see that, you know, Deborah Ehlers is on and Dr. Chris is on, and you guys all know Christina. Like, people have been just really advocating to breach the dams. I mean, there's been letter writing campaigns. There's been, I mean, more than that, you know, people handing out postcards just every single week, just trying to do this for many, many years. How did you get involved, John? Like, who brought this to your attention?
Dr. Chris and I were talking about me helping her get a press release out about the work that she does. trying to get rights for the orca, trying to get them recognized as sentient beings. And she asked if I could help her send out a press release. And I said, no one's going to pay attention to it. And that's true. Our media, for the most part, is broken. Environmental issues, climate change, some of the big issues that we're all facing today, if we're looking at national media outlets, for the most part, are not paying attention. They're covering whatever Donald Trump is saying, or they're covering whatever's hot and sexy that day. So we kind of started talking about the state of media and the ability of media to make a difference if it's done right. And so she brought up this issue of breaching the dams. We've been going back and forth for a little over a month now, trying to find a way to make this work. I can't take this story to CNN or to ABC News, places that I've worked for in the past, because they won't do it. They just won't. They won't make a piece. They won't make a film about breaching the dams. They'll say, well, we need to talk to the power companies and get their side of the story, or we'll need to talk to the politicians and get their side. Well, I've heard all their sides of the story, and I'm kind of done listening to this side and that side. The dams need to be breached. So the only way that we figured that we can make this kind of a project, Chris and I, is that maybe we can raise the money, what it costs to make a feature-length film that is broadcastable, something that would be on Netflix or HBO. And so, we're probably insane to think that we can raise that money, but that's where we are. And hopefully we can, because that part I know how to make. I know how to make that film. And the fact that media won't touch it is all the more reason to do it ourselves.
Awesome. We're so grateful for you. Howard was excited to get you on the show too. So Howard has big hopes for this film as well. Is there anything you want to say, Howard?
Just that, yes, you are right. I am so grateful for John. It was 10 years ago that I saw that there was massive deception and corruption and propaganda onslaught, heavily funded, systematic, professionally managed, but it was thorough. And so it was very hard to find people in any position of authority who would say, yeah, the dams have to be breached. They just wouldn't say it. They may know it. And if they read anything, they would know it, because all of the biologists, all of the science reporters from before the dams were built, the fish and wildlife directors from 4 states said, if you build those dams, it's going to kill the fish. And sure enough, that is what has happened. And EISs have also said that, and now NOAA agrees, and yet the politicians that are supported by the pro-dam forces just refuse to budge, refuse to really get behind it. And so the salmon are disappearing and the orcas are suffering. And so I am so relieved that John is on the case, and I want to support that film as much as I possibly can.
The thing, if I may, Howard, that I find remarkable, and one of the reasons that I jumped in is because the evidence is there. The evidence is clear, and you don't really even need to dig into the documents. We have Toki's family who's on the endangered species list, and we know what their food source is. We know absolutely what their food source is and how it has been diminishing, and the lower Snake River dams are responsible for the decline in the salmon population, which some of the Chinook salmon are also on the endangered species list. So it's not rocket science. We've taken away the orca's food supply, and there's a remedy. The dams, for the most part, are obsolete. So there is an answer to this. And those that are holding on to the dams and those that are giving us reasons to hold on to the dams are, for the most part, giving us misinformation. I kind of look at it, and regardless of your political stripe, it's sort of like whether you believe Donald Trump was elected president or not. It's a lie. It's a lie. And so we're being fed lies that the dams are necessary and that the dams provide a good source of hydropower, et cetera, on down the list, and that they should not be breached. That's a lie. It's an outward lie, and you've got animals on the endangered species list as a result. So which laws are you going to obey here? Are you going to obey the ones that say you need to protect the orca, you need to protect the salmon population, or are you just going to protect people's political interests or financial interests. That's what I see as the problem here, and that's what we're hoping to expose in the film. I mean, we're going to point fingers and we're going to name names.
We have to know why they're lying. What's the motivation? What's the coercion? What's the power politics that is sustaining those lies?
That's my job.
Yeah.
That's what journalism should be. I mean, who else holds politicians accountable? I mean, there isn't really a body higher than the U.S. Senate or the presidency. So you have to rely on a viable press, on media to ask the tough questions, to not let them off the hook, and that's not happening. You know, that system for the most part has been co-opted and broken, and it's run by corporations. So the tough questions aren't being asked anymore.
Right. Thank you for getting in there to ask them. Looking forward to
me too.
Seeing what you find.
Absolutely. And you guys, just so you know, I put the GoFundMe, a few people have actually put the GoFundMe and the links for this film. I'm going to go ahead and share a brief trailer, John, that Howard forwarded me to get to when we were talking about getting you on here, just so people can hear from you in this quick video. So let's see if I could do this without.
Hi, my name is John Carlos Frey. I'm a documentary filmmaker and journalist. I'm about to start on a new project about the 4 lower Snake River dams and their destructive effect on the environment. There's a lot of debate on whether the dam should stay or whether the dam should be breached. I've looked at the science, I've looked at the reports, I've talked to the experts, and there is no doubt that the dams need to be breached. That's what this film is about. There are not 2 sides to this debate. There is a propaganda in place right now in the Pacific Northwest that makes the general population believe that dams are good and dams can exist with fish. It's false. And this film will expose it. The dams are responsible for keeping the orca and the salmon on the endangered species list. I'm not going to make a beautiful film about orcas and about salmon. I'm going to embark on an investigation that exposes the lies, the hypocrisy, the deceit, and the corruption that keep the dams in place. If you want the orcas to thrive and you want the fish populations to be restored to original numbers, the only way, and science proves it, the only way is to breach the dams. We're asking for your help to get this film off the ground. Mainstream media outlets will not touch it. For the most part, they have been complicit in keeping the dams in place. I'm only speaking fact. I'm only speaking truth to power. I hope you can help support this project.
All right. I did put the link in there, like we said before we go too far. I wanted people to see that because I'm also going to put the link to what we just watched so that you guys can start sharing and spreading massively on your social media. I wanted to go and get the GoFundMe amount before the show and then challenge y'all to jump it. But I think we can tell by who's donated by when. So hour after the show, I want to see everyone watching have donated at least $5. Let's just do it. Let's start raising the money. Deb Cruz thinks I'm crazy, but yeah, let's start doing it. Deborah Ehlers, you've been working on and been an advocate for breaching the dams for a very long time. What are you thinking about this film, or what do you want to say?
I am so excited that John Carlos is getting into this long-running issue that should have been resolved before these dams were ever even built. As Howard said, historically, the agency said this is going to be the death knell for the salmon. It was known before these dams were built. So I'm so glad that we have an investigative reporter who is on our beat now. I would also like to follow up when Howard says, why have these dams remained in place? What is the reason when the facts are so clear that they are not cost effective and they're killing an entire ecosystem and endangering salmon and orcas? And I would just say, if you remember that rap song from a few years ago, it's all about the Benjamins. It's follow the money. And the politicians who purport themselves as green, like Inslee and Murray and Cantwell, they're green are the dollar signs. I'm just going to say it flat out. The dams do mean money for special interests. The wheat farmers save a few pennies per bushel by barging, which the taxpayers heavily subsidize. The hatcheries pump a lot of money into local economies with some employees there and buying equipment in the local towns. The barging companies make a tremendous return. It's basically guaranteed at taxpayer expense. So I just say it's all about the Benjamins from what I see. I got involved in this issue originally back in the 1990s because of the injustice. The more I learned about the dams, the more outrageous it became. How the tribes were not consulted and their usual and accustomed fishing places and villages and burial sites were just utterly disrespected. They dug up Palouse graves and took the canoes away. The Army Corps literally dragged the native people living along the Snake off from the land. It was a horrible injustice to the tribes. And it just decimated a whole ecosystem. We always talk about the salmon and the orcas, which I care about deeply, but lost in the equation are the countless frogs and insects and birds that relied on the lower Snake. So I'm just so thrilled to see this coming down the pike. And a group I'm with has already given a pretty substantial portion of our year's budget for Snake River Dam work. We donated $500 and we're trying to see if we can raise more to give to the GoFundMe along and keep going. Thank you so much.
You're muted, Annette.
That's usually my line to everyone. Thank you. I want to introduce you to Christina. Christina was sideways earlier, so we didn't have her on the screen, but now she's right side up. Christina Mully also is someone else who spends lots and lots of her time advocating for the dam removal. Christina, how are you today? And anything you would like to say to John?
I would like to say, John, that you are my hero, and I'm so honored, and I will do everything I can possible to help you get the funds that you need to get this going on. Because, like Deb Ehlers just said, you know, I know I haven't been working as long as she has, but I've been working for almost 10 years to try and breach these dams, and it's just unbelievable, you know. And as a Washingtonian, I really resent it, because basically I'm paying my tax dollars to, you know, make an entire ecosystem go extinct, because it is an entire ecosystem. Like Deb said, it's like just not just the orcas and the salmon. I mean, it goes all the way to the trees. You know, the salmon literally brings the nutrients of the ocean back to the forest, and it's really important that we breach these dams for so many reasons. And I am going to do everything I can to get you the funds. So thank you.
Thank you. You know, you said something. You know, you've been doing this for 10 years. I've talked to people who've been doing this for 50 years. This has been known. This idea of breaching the dams, that the dams are obsolete, that they don't really add to the hydropower system, that they're not great generators of electricity, that they're not coexisting with fish, etc. I mean, on down the list, the lies that we've talked about. But what I'm so curious about is that your local media doesn't tend to cover it that way. They tend to just kind of soft sell this idea, and then they sort of give deference to the power companies and to the politicians and to the barge companies, and they get their 2 cents worth. And then Bonneville Power cuts a whole bunch of television ads. So I think that the public, for the most part, doesn't really fully understand that they've been snowed or that they've been lied to. So that's kind of my tact right now. I'm going to piss people off. I mean, we don't like to be lied to, and we don't like our taxpayer dollars to be stolen from us. And we don't like to be sold, pardon my pun, but we don't like to be sold down the river, you know? So those are the kinds of things, those are the kinds of smoking guns that I think that we really need people to know so they can get pissed off and get active. The film isn't going to make the difference. It's what people take from the film and call their representatives, or start putting pressure on individuals to breach those dams. It's going to take a community and a global effort, I think, to make this happen. But they're being misinformed.
Absolutely, you're right, because I advocate all the time at bazaars, at farmers markets, wherever I can. And I would say probably 80% of the people that I speak to do not realize what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but we're gonna get them down. They're coming down. That's
Well,
what I have to
the
say.
film is just it's brilliant. You know, it's like we know, right? Because this is what we talk about all the time, and our circles know because we talk to our circles about all the time. But there's so many people that are just not aware, and you don't know if it's going to be that one person that watches this film, John, that you do that has massive connections to all these other people. I mean, it's just it's a way to get the word out. It's like Blackfish all over again. I mean,
It's Blackfish. It's Blackfish. It's a film called The Cove, which was about dolphins that were being massacred during tuna fisheries. It's even something as simple as a film called Super Size Me that we didn't know what was in McDonald's food, until the filmmaker went in there and exposed all of the chemicals and got sick from eating McDonald's food. Now McDonald's has to put these nutritional counts on all of their labels, so it's when people are duped and lied to, it's the way that you put the story together and it's the way that you expose the information. There's a way, and I'm just going to say this, there's a way to manipulate the audience into understanding that they've been lied to. And I don't mean manipulate in a negative way. We kind of have to unlie to them because for so long they've been fed. I watched a series of Bonneville Power commercials, and they had a biologist on basically saying that salmon and fish get along, salmon and dams get along just fine. And there's no problem here. And we need the hydropower, et cetera, et cetera. They spent $6 million on an ad campaign to keep the dams in place. I don't have that kind of money. And all it was a big snow job. So, we kind of have to unravel that and let people know the truth.
That's awesome.
Absolutely. And thank you. I so appreciate you. Honestly, I'm so happy that you are doing this.
I'm looking at the comments coming in, and a lot of people are donating right now. So Susan, thank you very much. Donated $250, and it's closer to 1,000 in Canada in her Canadian pesos, she said. And but other people are saying just donate it. Other people are challenging people like, hey, everyone, let's donate $10 after TokiTV. I hadn't thought about it, but it's kind of like a telethon, and I'm all about doing that again. Like at another time where we can plan it. Let's just stay on and see if we can get the funds raised for this. It's really, really important. And you're talking about movies. I mean, Dr. Chris and I were just chatting yesterday, and it's like that movie Don't Look Up. People don't want to see or acknowledge what's happening.
Well, our media is not covering climate change. They're in bed with the petroleum companies. Right. I mean, if NBC News, NBC Universal has stock in petroleum companies, the largest part of their portfolio is Shell Oil. So they're not going to put on good journalism that goes after the petroleum companies. So they're going to soft sell this idea. Meanwhile, the planet's on fire, and where's the media? I've seen it internationally. If you go to the Netherlands or places that don't have the resources that the United States does as far as energy is concerned, they get it. Their press is talking about climate change. They're changing their living habits. They're driving electric cars, or they're not driving at all, or they're on bikes. They're changing their habits. But here we are, gas guzzling still, because we don't know. We don't really relate. I think there's even a whole contingency of media that says we don't have a problem with climate change, that climate change is a hoax. So that's the power of media. It can lie to people and get people to believe almost anything. I wish we didn't have to raise this money. I wish we didn't have to go independent, but I don't see any media out there right now that's talking about restoring the environment. Somebody said to me that if the dams are breached, if the 4 dams are breached, it would be the largest ecological restoration project in the United States. That's remarkable. At this time and during this crisis, and to save endangered species, it feels like a no-brainer to me. It's almost frustrating to me to hear that.
Yeah, absolutely. I see Howard there shaking his head. Go ahead, Howard.
Yeah, well, music to my ears. This is exactly what needs to be done. I did a talk at a rally in Olympia at the steps of the Capitol. Michelle Seidelman organized this incredible rally that had people holding up orca flukes that had the names of each orca in the southern resident community. So they each represented a whale. And so they were a big part of the audience. And I was inspired by, I forget her name, the teenager that was involved in the mass shooting in Florida. Anyway, she, a day or two after that happened, she basically called out the NRA and all the politicians, and after every sentence said, "I call BS." And so I kind of adapted that method to what I've seen, and I've got a whole list of my favorite lies, the most prominent lies that we hear all the time. And I just read them off, and after every one said, "I call BS." And that's what it sounds like you are willing to do, is to find that BS and call it, and look at who is repeating it, who's spouting off these lies that are keeping the dams in place or paralyzing people from doing what needs to be done.
How many CEOs at Bonneville Power or the power infrastructure in the Pacific Northwest have a camera in their face and a microphone in their face and asking them directly why the dams haven't been breached and why it's okay to kill orca, why it's okay to keep salmon on the endangered species list, why it's okay to lie to the public with a camera rolling? How many times has that happened? It doesn't happen. So they get to create their own advertising, they get to create their own spin, they get to say whatever they want, and nobody holds them accountable, and everybody buys it because they don't know any different. So you're absolutely right. We need to call BS. I mean, can we make a new name? Can we call it WS, like whale shit or something like that? But yeah, of course.
I love that. Dr. Chris, I want to check in with you. Is there anything you want to say at this point?
Yeah, I'm just grateful for all of this and for everybody who's donating and writing in, and appreciative. And I just wanted to mention, though, as you know, Deborah and everybody's been in here for so long, and I've been working on sort of the flip side with the rights of nature movement, trying to get people to recognize the inherent rights of the southern residents. But one thing that is glaringly clear to me, because my expertise is in death, dying, and grief, is the fact that, you know, we're losing the experts. We lost Ken Balcom last year. We lost Matt Cheney. We lost Rod Sando recently. These are people who had been fighting to get the dams breached. And we've got some people now who are struggling with health issues. And what saddens me so much, in addition to losing all of them, we've lost Toki. We continue to lose countless numbers of salmon and other southern resident orcas during the years. And I just can't imagine having to lose any more people who have been fighting for decades to make this happen. And I'm so grateful that, you know, I just keep, I reach out to everybody. And as we keep saying, that you never know who you might meet. It's always who you know. And you never know who might be listening in on this, who's got the money, who can just write a check for 500 grand. You just never know. And I'm so grateful that after meeting with all of these people, it's been 2 years now that I've been meeting with the dam breaching group, and being able to listen in on what these people have shared, and not only their expertise, but their passion. Their lives have been so enmeshed in this work. And I want to do everything I can so that they're able to see that their life's work actually mattered, that it made a difference, that people actually do give a damn. No pun intended there, but I'm just so grateful that, you know, you just keep reaching out. And I found somebody who knew John, and that's simply how it worked. Just finding somebody who knew somebody, and John was the guy. And I'm so grateful that even after waiting 2 years for this, you know, we talk about manifesting and always being careful what you ask for. I honestly didn't expect to get somebody with John's expertise. I mean, the 6-time Emmy Award-winning investigative journalist, did not expect that. I was just asking for somebody from, you know, out of the Pacific Northwest. And here we get somebody with John's caliber of expertise. So I'm so grateful. And I'm just so grateful to all of you for making this happen and that this is going to happen. The dams are going to be breached, and the southern residents are once again going to thrive. And we will help them with the trauma they've experienced and help everybody move forward. So that's my spiel and my goal. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Dr. Chris. And you guys, if you don't know, Dr. Chris has been on TokiTV a few times and just super passionate and making huge waves and massive difference for the orcas. And we really appreciate you. Alejandro, I want to check in with you real quick. What are you thinking about all this?
Oh, I'm so happy, and thank you so much, John, for everything you're doing. I'm standing with you right now, so I would like to have your phone. We're gonna stay in touch because I'm working now to bring TokiTV to Florida. I have a meeting with the senator last week. I can't say anything else. So we're gonna work together because we need to breach the dams, to help Toki's legacy to keep alive. And we're gonna do our best. And everything you do, just share with me. I'm gonna share on my Facebook. We're gonna get that money ready for the documentary. I will support you 100% because everything you are doing is amazing. It's amazing and it's amazing. I really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much, John.
Thank you. And I don't have a direct connection personally with Toki, and what sort of makes my heart ache is obviously what happened, but the legacy of captivity and the legacy of caging wild animals, is part of her legacy. But at the same time, you can talk about Toki's family in almost the same vein. They're also caged. They're also subject to the way that we treat them. They're not wild animals per se because their food source has been taken from them by our man-made dams. We are responsible for the way that we treat wildlife today. We are managers of wildlife. So obviously if Toki was in a cage for most of her life and the way that she passed was tragic, it's still going on in the wild. It's still happening, and we still have a responsibility to her family, and mostly because we can do something about it. This is manageable by us. We can actually improve the conditions. We have the knowledge, we have the data, we have the science. So I'm advocating for that. I mean, it sounds like I'm an activist, but I think that a good journalist should be, and that's an activist for the truth and an activist for the facts. Nothing that I've heard from people who are in this fight have fed me a bunch of BS, as Howard would say. They have fed me documents and data and reports that have gone back 50 years. So I'm standing on solid ground when I say that we can save the lives of an endangered species by breaching the dams. I mean, that's provable. So that's the direction I want to go.
That is so awesome. So awesome. And you do have a direct link to Toki because you're here. And so you're with all of us. And so by all means, I mean, we call it Toki's magic, it's just the right people at the right time and the right capacities to make a huge difference. And that is you, John. So thank you. Thank you. Howard, I see you leaning in. I'm not sure if there's something you want to say.
Well, what I'm doing is looking for things that I have written in the past that are an attempt to kind of ask those questions that John, you're intending to ask face-to-face to politicians. I've got a whole sheet of those questions, and not that it's any new ground that you haven't heard anywhere else, but it might help just trigger a few ideas and some thoughts. So I'm going to forward those to you.
Okay.
Because I've without having any means, I have been trying to ask those questions. I just I send them to a politician, I don't hear back, or I get a boilerplate letter back, but they really need to be asked and put on record, their answers to these questions. I mean, they need to be confronted with the facts, with the actual scientific reports, with the knowledge that we have, the low smoke to adult return rates in the Snake River. That's sort of the telling statistic that shows that they're not replicating, that the generations are not able to reproduce another generation each year, so that they're incrementally going extinct, and that those are in the numbers. Those are documented facts. And despite it's been said that it was 17 billion that was spent on salmon restoration since about 2000, but we've been saying that for 10 years. So there's probably another 8 or 10 billion that has been spent since then. And it's all authorized by Congress. And why do they authorize it when it's not working?
We can save Congress. We can save Congress $17 billion. By making one film for $500,000, we can save them money. Just breach the dams, and you won't have to do fisheries and hatcheries and all of this nonsense that's going on. It's ridiculous. I think Ed Cheney said he wanted this film to be called "The Salmon Killers," and point fingers at everybody who's okay with killing salmon, which in turn affects the southern residents.
The dams are salmon killers, and everyone who supports them is salmon killer. So yeah, I think that's a good title. Yeah, it's just that these questions need to be asked, just point blank, face to face, and get those answers on record, and let the public see that they don't hold water when they give a namby-pamby, standard answer about, fish and dams can coexist. It's not true. The numbers show that it's not happening that way. They're dying. When you visualize it, it's 140 miles of stagnant pools that the downriver smolts are stuck in, and they can't make it to the ocean, not in good condition, and if at all. And that's what's killing the salmon. So all of that needs to be exposed, and those questions need to be asked. So
it's interesting. You're suggesting to ask the tough questions, but in my line of work, if you work for corporate media, if you work for CNN or ABC News, which I have many times, you're not allowed to ask the tough questions, because you're not supposed to piss off that congressperson, because you're going to want to go back and ask them a question about something else in the future. You're going to want to have what we call access. So you ask the soft question. You ask the easy question. You get them off the hook, so that next year when there's a campaign or you want them to do an interview for you, you get access to them. I don't do that anymore. If we do this independently, and I don't get access to the politicians or to the CEOs, I'm going to get them on the golf course. I'll get them at the beauty parlor. I'll get them at the grocery store. If they don't give me an interview, we'll chase them down with the cameras and the microphone, something I would not be able to do if I worked for ABC News. They wouldn't allow me to do it because they're afraid of getting sued. These are public figures. These people are paid by us. They are on our dime. So if they're not willing to answer the tough questions, I'm going to make sure that they do. So that's one reason to make this independent, because we wouldn't be able to otherwise. It hasn't happened. The Seattle Times covers this issue upside and inside and out and every which way, and it's a soft sell. I've read all the articles. It's just a soft sell. Maybe we should, maybe we shouldn't. Maybe we should breach the dams, maybe we shouldn't.
Right. It just leaves people
this BS,
confused.
BS.
Yeah. A lot of BS.
I want to jump in real quick. It looks like so far since the beginning of the show, you guys, it's over $500 have been donated to the GoFundMe. Come on, man, we could do better than that. Let's go. Let's do this. And I know we'll have some after. And also, I'm not blocking people's comments, but if you guys are calling out specific organizations that should be donating to this fund, I encourage you to send that request to those organizations, but I don't want to call anyone out specifically as far as who should be donating. But if you do donate, I will put your name up for sure. But yeah, there's a lot of organizations out there that I think could and should, and I know I will be forwarding. I'm not sure that little feedback there. I know I'll be forwarding the GoFundMe link to many organizations, because I think there's a lot of organizations, and I agree with you, Peggy, on some. We should absolutely ask people to donate in Toki's honor and Toki's legacy. But again, I don't want to call anybody out specifically live. And I don't want to do that part, but I do want to encourage everyone watching to, if you have contacts in different organizations, please send them the link and ask them to donate and tell them why. The second thing I just want to show is, because Howard mentioned this and Christina had it handy, ready to go. There you go, Howard. When was it?
Oh, there it is.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, that was a great rally. Yeah. But no answer from the governor or anyone else. It didn't have the impact. They've got to be somehow, embarrassed into it.
Yeah.
They've got to be confronted with the facts face to face. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
There's another topic here to put into consideration, friends, is a lot of us are mothers, a lot of us are fathers, some of us are grandmothers and grandfathers. We may not see the total end of what's happening with these dams, but there's people, our grandchildren are going to know. So I would challenge people to give the cost of your Starbucks. Give it to a good cause. I was going to buy some pretty winter colored shirts, and I'm like, what's more important, a pretty shirt or $100 to bring down the dams? So every purchase, every thought we make, every action we make, it affects the 7 generations behind us. And I just think the kids that aren't here need to be spoken for too. They don't have a voice either. Just a thought.
It's a good thought. It's a very good thought, Deb. Thank you. Because whenever we have done any of these protests or marches or anything, conveniently everyone is out of the office then. I mean, so when we did that one at the courthouse, we wanted to see Inslee and talk to him. We actually literally went in there and started chanting, "Breach the dams, breach the dams," very loud. I will add, all of those people that you just saw right there. And he was just gone. He wasn't there. Yep. So yeah, we need to expose these people, and that's why I'm so grateful for you, John.
Honestly. I don't think outside the region that you all live and work in this issue, I'd never heard about it. I'm a journalist. I mean, I work on a national media outlets for the most part, and this idea of restoring the environment and the idea of breaching dams would save a couple of animals from being on the endangered species list, and the fact that these dams are obsolete, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, if you get 50 states in on this, and you get other countries in on this, and you put Toki's spirit behind this, I don't think you can stop. I mean, that's when the politicians can't hide. That's when everybody is on their back, where everywhere they go, they're being asked this question. And every time they turn on the television, there's this idea of what they've done to destroy the environment, because that's how they're going to be portrayed. They're not going to be portrayed as lovely people. They're going to be portrayed for the people who have their heads in the sand and know exactly what they're doing. I have a pretty good idea that the people who are responsible for keeping the dams in place know full well that they probably should be breached. Yeah. But it's too convenient. There's too much money involved. There's too much politics involved. They have to do the right thing for their buddies or whatever it may be. But I'm sure that they've seen the science. I mean, for Christ's sake, was NOAA in 2022's report, breach the dams, what a preeminent scientific organization says breach the dam, a federal government agency. What do you need? Now you got me all fired up. I'm sorry.
I love it. I love it. Early on, you said, you're gonna piss people off, and the comments were like, "Hey, I'm good at pissing people off." There's a lot of people watching that are good at pissing people off.
I don't think we can play softball anymore. I'm sorry. Yeah. It's too critical. This is not something that we can waste time on. I mean, I think we're pretty close to the end here. If it isn't climate change that's going to take this all out, it's the fact that these species are near extinction or near a level of population that they won't be able to recover from. So, the time is now if it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if I might, cynically, I really think the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and their cohorts are playing a waiting game. They know the longer they can delay the game, the more likely it is the salmon will reach a point of no return. And I'm sorry, but after 30 years of working on it, I'm pretty sure unless we force them to do the right thing, they're just going to keep the status quo in place. And I was intrigued by Howard's comments and some of John Carlos's, and thinking about what's the relationship between the dams and TokiTV. TokiTV really meant a lot to me. I know she meant a lot to everybody who's on the panel and out there listening and watching, but the dams and captivity are really two sides of the same coin from what I can see. They mean man is trying to control nature, whether it's the Snake River dams that are disrupting the ecosystem or poor TokiTV in captivity for 50 plus years. And so it's time. It's a call to action. Let's get it done.
Let's get it done.
Can I just mention something in it really quick?
Of course.
One thing there's so many things to love about John, but one thing I really appreciate is the fact that he's willing to he's willing to bite the bullet, so to speak, and perhaps literally. Not that I wish that on you at all, John, because you're too pretty, but he has been willing to, take the occasional hit or some sort of violence. That will get on the news. That will bring more attention in, and he's willing to do that. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Chris. I always say if I get punched in the face, it better be on camera. So, to Chris's point, it's what it does take. We did a film last year about the Catholic Church, who's still hiding priests, who's still settling lawsuits, who's still allowing pedophilia to run rampant, especially internationally. It's disgusting. And, you're going to have to go to the head of the beast. You're just going to have to. There's just no softball left here. Playing easy and playing soft and kind is what the media does today. It's why we're in the crisis that we're in. It's why climate change isn't on the tip of everybody's tongue. And so you're going to need to shake it up. And that's, I may fall flat on my face. I have no idea if that's going to be the case. But I know that the way that we're going about it now is doomed to fail. There's just no way that if we just file another lawsuit, or if we just wait for the government, or we wait for the president, or we wait for Bonneville, or we wait for whatever. I mean, certainly, to everyone's point, it's not just a waiting game. They'll probably want to issue another study, right? Isn't that what they do too? Let's study how we do this. That'll take another 10 years off of everybody's life. Do we need another study? You're muted. Sorry, Ned, I know this.
I'm so surprised that so many people think that if we breach these dams that we're going to be in the dark, literally, like we won't have any lights. That's what most people, they're like, well, we can't breach these dams. That's giving us so much energy. And I'm like, no, actually, it's only 4% of our regions. And I explain it all to them. I have it.
But that's
down.
What the film is about, is to try
Right.
and illustrate that. It's not even 4% of the power source. There's surplus energy dams.
Right.
If you remove these dams, you're not going to miss them at all. There's surplus energy dams. The power is even sold to California, so it's not even supplying power to the region, and it's usually sold at a loss because of the time of year that the dams are in full operation. So these are the pieces that, if they're done correctly, I'm not going to kill people with data, but if you do it in a way that make people understand, you don't even need the dams.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, there's a way to get people to understand that they've been duped. If you catch a Bonneville Power CEO in a lie about the dams, and I happen to have the document in my hand and I shove it in his face, or I hit him across the cheek with a dead salmon, or something like that.
Yeah.
People will get it. People will get it. They'll know that he's lying and I'm not. So that's the way to do it, is to just catch them in the lie. And then people will say, oh, well, yeah, why would you want to get rid of the dams that give me cheap electricity and provide clean energy? Both of those things are lies that I just said. So they need to be illustrated.
Yeah. Can I just say, please? I just want to thank you, because I know how hard investigative journalism is, My cousin is Paul Conroy. I don't know whether you've heard of him. He was over in Syria with Marie Colvin when she was killed. So I know how difficult this is. But everything that you've said, you've hit the nail right on the head. It's what we've all been saying for years and years. And yet getting it out there to the rest of the world, as well as different states. Anything I can do to help, just let me know. Because I won't be able to look at my children or their children in the future when they say to me, well, what did you do? It's making the Endangered Species Act a complete farce. And yeah, it was me that came up with the term of task farce with Inslee. And that's exactly what it is. It's just all a farce. Go where the money is and you'll find out exactly what's going on.
Do you all think that this also is a tool that can be used to show people what restoration looks like?
Yeah.
You know, do we need all these man-made contraptions that we think are in control of the environment when the environment is starting to kick back? You know?
Yeah.
I mean, the Elwha is a perfect example, Howard. I think the Elwha is just that perfect example. Are people missing the dams? Are people saying, damn it, you know, why don't we bring them back?
I haven't heard anybody say any such thing. They're all just rejoicing at the restoration of the river, at the return of the salmon, and even the birds, the little American dippers that live on the river that swim kind of in the water. They're amazing little birds. I just saw one a couple of days ago, and I read that the studies have shown that since the dams have come out, and that's less than 10 years, really, the full restoration of the river, that those little birds have in their bodies, they have an increased level of ocean nutrients that they have picked up just because the salmon that spawn and die on the sides of the river, their nutrients from the ocean have spread into the entire watershed. Every living thing, every tree, every plant, every bird has traces of it because it's nutrient. It helps the life force of everything in that entire watershed. So no, nobody is lamenting the loss of the dams. You know, it's a huge success all across the board.
John, can you tell you have a whole lot of people backing this project?
Yeah, it really warms my heart. It fills my head with all kinds of ideas. You know, my job is twofold: is to investigate the corruption and the lies, but secondly is to put together a film that bears witness to what we're talking about. You know, that tells the story in a way that will move people. It's one thing to issue a news report, which this isn't going to be. It's going to have to, you know, talk about those birds and talk about the restoration of the environment. What about native ways? I mean, what we're really asking to do here is to go back to the way that natives used to live in this area. So maybe it's about honoring that treaty. Or, you know, I never heard that story. I don't remember who just told that story about having natives being pushed off their land to build the dams. I mean, that needs to be known. You know, that the dams were stolen property.
100%.
That would be Miss Deborah Ellers that was telling you that. So I'm sure you guys will be in more communication.
Yeah, but I mean, that's how we illustrate the injustice of these dams. You know, they're made with blood money almost.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Exactly.
That's well told in Steve Hawley's book, Cracked, as well, that forced relocation, you know, from their tribal, you know, their native way of living, their entire way of life was just, you know, flooded out. They had to move. Horrible. I just did a search. I've got a voluminous directory of Snake River documents and letters and things going back 10 years. I just did a search just for BS and found 6 different documents. So I've been saving some up. I'll send them to you.
Thank you so much. We're doing WS, remember?
Yeah, right. Yeah, this is WS.
Also, damnation is a really good documentary if you want to learn.
I have watched it. It is a very good movie.
I was just like, for the audience, whatever, to learn about the treaties that we've done, what we've done, and just their artificial is another really good one. So like, yeah, we've done a lot of wrong things. It's time to do some things right.
Yeah. I have a question, and Dr. Chris and John, this might be for you. Someone is asking, so what happens if someone donates, $500 or $1,000 and the end goal is not reached? What happens to the money? I think that's an important question for people who are donating. I don't know if either one of you are able to.
Yeah, it's a very good question, and I don't know that we've seriously approached it because we don't have that mindset. And that's not a good answer either.
But I like that
you're doing everything that we can to make this happen. I think this is emergency. I think this is critical. I think it is now. I know for a fact that $500,000 sounds like a crazy amount of money, but in my business, it is not. This is a low budget for something that is broadcastable. Netflix has standards. HBO has standards about filming, about story. And you can't just make something with your handheld camera and deliver it to them because they won't touch it. So we hope to raise that money, whether it's in small dollar donations. We're going out to large corporations, large grant giving organizations, concerned individuals who have the means. So we're not stopping. I don't think that, if they're going to donate $500, that it's going to go to waste.
Awesome.
Yeah, this has to happen. I don't even see us stopping before we get to something that really makes a difference.
I like that answer.
Did I sound like a politician and avoided the question?
No, that was the perfect answer. You don't have that mindset because it is going to happen. And I love that. And since I think I'm a telethon host, I'm going to give you guys an update. So we're now over $1,600.
Wow, great.
All right. So thank you guys for doing
We're going to raise that money.
We're going to raise that money.
We're going to keep trying until we do.
Yeah. I just want to say, I did say if you donated, I would say your name. So I'm going to say your name. So Tamala and Cindy, a lot of anonymouses, Nora, Suzanne, Jimena. Thank you, Jimena. Jennifer, Grace, Russell, some more anonymous, Susan, Maria, Cindy, Christine, Marcia. Thank you guys for stepping up and raising that. So we could do that in a little bit. I do want to challenge you guys before, and I know we're getting towards the end of the show, but I'm kind of thinking, John, if you're willing to come on every, I don't know, like just to give us updates on
every day. Yeah, sure.
That's right. Come on here. No, but I think it would be good to keep people. We need to keep people engaged. And
here's what we hope to do to that point. Once we get some of the goods, once we're out in the field and we're filming and we catch a politician with their pants down, obviously metaphorically speaking, because nobody really wants to see that. But once we catch them, once we corner them, once we expose them, we're going to start releasing clips. Because this isn't just going to wait for the premiere of the film. We're going to start feeding this to your local newspapers and to your local television stations. We're going to make
perfect. Yes.
We're going to start making them run now. This is going to be viral stuff that we're going to put out there. So as we're making it, we're going to be delivering tidbits of it as well.
Great.
I absolutely love that because it's not about the film; it's about reaching the dam.
No, this is about making a difference now. We're gonna turn up the volume and keep the pressure on for a long time.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Listen, I would love to know who was the badass who would donate $10,000. I can make a special video, happy birthdays, La Bamba, and I send it to you, and I send it to you by private messenger or WhatsApp. Just let me know.
There's all kinds of ideas. There's all kinds of fundraising ideas coming up.
I just read the information, so I feel so. I am in shock. It's okay. That's good.
No. And that was a damn truth that donated that $10,000 22 days ago. But to that point, and I put Chris's email up, Dr. Chris, because there is ideas and stuff going around. I think we should all come up with fundraising ideas. Sorry, Chris, putting your email out there for everyone, but I think it's good. Let's come up with some fundraising ideas and let's get with Dr. Chris to start putting our heads together and let's get this film funded. Let's all put your ideas out there. So send an email to Dr. Chris Appreciate it. I do want to go around and let everyone say, something that they may want to say before we close. I don't want to end, and we kind of don't have to. We're not on a strict thing, but we are at the hour, so I want to just acknowledge that. But let's just check in with everyone, and then John, absolutely, please come back. I think you're going to be part of the group. It just feels that way. So.
I hope to be in the Pacific Northwest at the end of the next week. So in 10 days or so, for hopefully for about a week or so. So maybe I can meet some of you personally and start downloading some of that BS information that you have, Howard, and that kind of stuff.
I think that's a wonderful idea, and I can send you the emails for Deborah and Christina and the folks who live out there. I'll get that to you, John. Appreciate it. Deborah, what do you want to say?
I just want to say thank you to the ancestors for searching out and about and plucking you out of the group of investigative reporters, and you are connected. You've been personally chosen, and now you're ours forever. Thank you.
I'm a better man for it. Thank you.
Sorry, John. Ma?
Yeah, you are Toki chosen, and that's it. You'll be ours forever. And just thank you. I'll paint as much as I can, and I'll raise funds as much as I can. And everybody out there, do it for Toki's family, please. Keep donating. Do it for Toki's family and her memory. Thanks.
Awesome. Love you, Ma. Thank you. Alejandro.
Thank you so much, John. Just, I want to tell you that, we are like a virus. So now you are a part of our team. You will not be able to get out.
Okay. I'm hanging up right now.
So, okay. Thank you so much for everything you are doing. Okay. You're amazing job. So I will support you 100%.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Dr. Chris?
I'm loving all this possessiveness of John, also freaking out a little bit. Let's not scare him off. But yeah, we're definitely, we just have to make sure we could keep the funds coming in, so we get to keep him. Everybody's got to make a living, and we just need to make sure that we can keep this going and get the funds so we can make this happen sooner than later. Obviously, we need to get this done. It would be ideal to get it done, if we could get the money coming in. I'm going to say when, not if. Let's get the money coming in now so that John could get this done and on screens in spring or summer next year, as soon as possible. So thank you.
Awesome. And thanks for being with us. And you're welcome to be here anytime, Dr. Chris. Deb Cruz?
Oh. I thought I was in the back.
I'm rotating people for fun.
Welcome to the pod, John.
So awesome.
That's all I got.
All right, Deborah Ellers.
Deb Cruz beat me to it. I was going to welcome John to the pod. I think Orca advocates are just the best people to hang out with. Besides being a really important part of my life in the past decade or so, I've met some fabulous people, and now John's part of that group. And so I'm so excited about this project. I got to think there's at least 100,000 people around the world that love the Orcas and TokiTV. If we could just encourage each one of them to give the equivalent of $5 US in place of their latte at Starbucks, we're there. So let's get to it.
Let's do it. Awesome. Christina.
Well, I just have so much gratitude for you and what you're doing for us and the orcas and the ecosystem and all of that, but as well as all of the other things that you're the voice that is needed desperately. And I just have a lot of gratitude and respect for you, because we need people like you in the world today. It's vital. It's vital to our own survival. And I just wanted to say thank you so much. And I also wanted to say to everyone else that you can still keep writing and calling President Biden. It doesn't go unnoticed. It still counts. Just because we had that deadline of the 31st of August, please continue to call them and write them, because it does not go unnoticed. And I have a couple of ideas already for some fundraisers to get this show on the road. So thank you.
Awesome. Get with Dr. Chris. Let's coordinate. Let's get structured and let's do it. Casey and Stephanie, you're on mute. I got to say it today.
Having some connectivity issues, I guess. Short and sweet while we're still connected. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And we will help in any way we can.
Awesome. Okay, Professor Howard.
Oh, well, I'm just grateful that you're on the case, John. You're like a dream come true. Really, I've been griping for years about how no journalists are asking the real hard questions and getting them out there, getting the responses, uncovering who is spouting the bullshit and why. And I'm just thrilled that you're there. And this is indeed carrying out Toki's legacy, and you know what we can do for her in her memory is to take care of her family the best we can, and that means they need more fish from the rivers, and the rivers need to be rivers, and so you can help that happen. We're just ramping up this fundraising. We're just getting started. It's going to come in. We're going to use all kinds of ingenious ways of raising money for you. So we're going to get that funding, and you're going to make that movie, and you're going to release those clips, and I'm looking forward to that. All right. Thanks, John.
Good stuff. You're so awesome, Howard. And yeah, people are asking, like, what can we do? What can we do? A lot of people I know feeling very lost after our recent loss of our beloved Toki. And this is one way to do something in her honor and help her family. So I encourage you guys, again, if you can donate $5, that's cool. If you cannot, that's cool, but share it. So if you see on here, I'm posting over and over and over in the comments, the GoFundMe link, just put your finger on it, copy it, paste it to your page. Let's just, maybe let's all take a vow to post it to a group a day. Let's just get this GoFundMe out there. We'll close today with the trailer so you guys can all see it. But John, I don't really know if I want to ask you what you think of us, but
you really don't.
we're really happy to have you with us today, and I do hope you come back. Is there any final words you would like to say before we close today?
Yeah, I am so moved. I am an emotional person by nature, so you're going to make me cry. I have a degree in biology with an emphasis in marine sciences, and I directly out of college worked for SeaWorld, which I'm not proud of, and knew then that that was the wrong way to go for a biologist. So for me, this has been, I don't want to say it's a lifelong dream, but this is why I'm on the planet. This is why I'm on the planet. I have access to big media. I have access to a big stage, and this is what that big stage is for. It's to make things that are wrong right. It's to make things that are broken fixed. And the media has the power to do that because it raises awareness and it raises the level of consciousness, and consciousness changes everything. So I want to be that facilitator. It's not money for me. It's not money for me. It's money for Toki, and it's money for Toki's family, and it's money for the environment. I'm just the pass-through. So I'm grateful to be a part of your pod. No matter how crazy you are, I can feel how crazy you all are. It's very noticeable, and so am I in the best way possible. So I'm grateful to be on the team. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. You guys all have a wonderful week. We'll see you Thursday for our meditation time. And then again, next Sunday, we'll keep everyone posted. I know people are asking and want to know when are her remains coming home. When will the services be at Lemmy? The date has not been solidified yet, but hopefully we'll know soon. And as soon as we know, we will send that out to all of you so you can come join us in the Pacific Northwest for her memorial. And then we'll continue to gather to put our heads together to see what are we doing moving forward. Toki's Law in Florida. Alejandro, we're behind you. Let's get this film. Let's breach the dams, backing up Orca Network, Center for Whale Research, Wild Orca, everyone who's out there doing something good for Toki and her family and those who have enduring what her life was for 53 years. So we will make a difference, each and every one of us on this screen and every single person who is watching and listening. We're gonna finish licking our wounds and move forward. We're gonna do it. So you guys have a wonderful week, and we will be checking in very, very soon. Have a good one.
Call the president. Tell him to sign the executive order now. Save the orcas and breach those dams.
Southern resident killer whales are starving in the Salish Sea. There's simply not enough Chinook salmon, the whale's primary food source.
Nobody is on this task force to talk. We're on this task force to take action.
Now, when you breach a dam, you get 2 million salmon. You prevent the death of 2 million smolts. Half those will make it to the ocean. So you've got nothing that can produce salmon that quick. Thank you.
Congress has spent more than $15 billion trying to address the dwindling population of salmon, but so far nothing has worked.
Our back is against the wall. We need to turn some of the larger dials. Some of the larger dials, of course, is dam breaching. Now more than ever, our voice needs to be amplified for salmon and for the rest of the environment.
I've been telling this story for 20 years.
Dams and fish can coexist. The dams have proved detrimental to fish passage.
Why is it important to protect Northwest hydropower?
Hydropower is essential to address climate change and protect salmon.
The only way to replace the reliability would be burning more fossil fuels.
So if the science points to breaching dams, do you have what it takes to go up against tough bodies like Bonneville Power to make that happen?
I believe it's central to who we are as Washingtonians. I'm going to do that heavy lift, you bet.
No real change is going to happen if you're not prepared to get in the face of the people and the agencies and their political enablers who are responsible for this kind of injustice.